am thrilled to log that my planetary follow-up initiative has finally been given the green light by Admiral Buenamigo.
Coming up, Captain Freeman and the crew of the Cerritos get a dream assignment.
I have a journalist from FNN en route to the Cerritos. She'll be documenting your success as it happens.
But a news reporter undermines their efforts when the crew's dirty laundry is brought to light.
Is Freeman really the best captain, or simply a cruel taskmaster?
Who's the whistleblower? And is Mariner to blame?
I know Mom is stressed, but that reporter is here to report, and this isn't how the Cerritos actually is. I'm gonna tell the truth.
All this and more coming up on the Lower Decks edition of Energize.
Energize. Energize.
This week, Mariner finds herself smack dab in the middle of controversy when a news reporter embedded with the crew reveals some of their dirty secrets.
Is Mariner the culprit? And if she is, will her time on the Cerritos come to an end?
Here's a warp speed recap of Episode 9 of Star Trek Lower Decks, Trusted Sources.
Congratulations, Captain Freeman. There's no one better suited for Project Swing By. I have a journalist from FNN en route to the Cerritos. She'll be documenting your success as it happens.
With this reporter coming on board, I don't want us to look like fools. Mariner, what the hell are you covered in?
Blueberry filling. Yeah, we got the pie eating contest later today.
Ensign, if I were you, I would make myself scarce for the next couple days.
I know Mom is stressed, but that reporter is here to report, and this isn't how the Cerritos actually is.
What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna tell the truth.
Captain Freeman, is this a good time for our interview?
I think you've seen that I run a tight ship.
Chaotic, quote, irresponsible, silly is a word that has been tossed around quite a bit.
I think everybody's on edge about the reporter.
What the hell did you say to her?
I had to tell her some stories, about what it's really like to work here.
You have absolutely no concept of when to shut your mouth.
Don't talk to me like I'm 15. I'm a Starfleet officer and an essential part of your crew.
Not anymore.
All right, Steve, so another interesting episode with a twist. This was awesome.
I agree. I love how they're doing this. I just want to start by saying that sometimes I read comments about the show online, and I tend to not agree with some of the comments I was reading, and we'll get into that. I just wanted to say I loved this episode, and I think they're doing a great job on this series. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I read a comment or listened to a comment, and the comment was just more about, well, this was a lackluster episode. I said, no, it was actually, it actually had heart.
Congratulations, Captain. I think I speak for all of us when I say...
This is terrible!
But you've been lobbying for Project Swing By for years.
Not that, the reporter! This ship's a mess. We have to clean it up before she gets here.
At the beginning of this episode, Captain Freeman gets this dream assignment. And it kind of harkens back to when they went to a planet that Captain Kirk and company had visited, and Landru had taken back over, the planet. And everybody was doing the red hour. And so I remember she and Ransom just having this comment about, the Starfleet is good about first contact, but sucks on the follow-up. And so here we are, fast forward, boom, Captain Freeman gets this new initiative to work on, follow-ups with planets that they've had first contact with in the past. And so she's excited. She's, ecstatic about it. And, but Admiral Buenamigo, throws a wrench throws a whole wrench in the whole thing. So,
well, and it also speaks to this culture of media. And it's funny, the only time that Star Trek has really pushed media culture was in Star Trek Generations, the opening scene when Kirk's on the Enterprise B, and they're all asking him, how does he feel? And then in this case, where she's with FNN, which is Federation Network News, and this reporter is going to be assigned to this story because the Cerritos has been assigned to this new idea called Project Swing By, which is not necessarily second contact, but more of a follow-up mission from the original mission, and Freeman's excitement is immediately doused when she realizes that this reporter is coming on board. And why is she upset, Anthony?
Oh, because she has wild cards on board, namely Mariner.
Yeah. And she says it's a mess. The damn place is a mess, which was true. It's chaos on the Cerritos. Everyone knows that.
Always. I mean, things are always happening on the Cerritos. There's so many mishaps. And so they've, built up quite a bit of a reputation. So, of course, she's going to be apprehensive about a reporter being embedded, because that means, you know how it is in real life. When reporters are embedded, whether that be with the military or anything else, they see everything, and there's always a potential that what they see could end up on the news and be spun in a way that hurts.
Exactly. Yeah, editing is death for the subjects of reporting. But it's interesting because the swing by was going to be a 17-year gap in contact with a planet, Ornara, that Picard had made back in, I don't remember what season it was, but they said it was 17 years ago. And that's where I kind of had a big question mark over my head, because I don't remember this episode, but the way they'd explained it was that Picard and the Enterprise went to Ornara, and their civilization had been, I think, given to addiction from a neighboring planet, which gave them this drug that got them addicted, and they could control it. And Picard had to step in and, cut off the two planets from each other, and that's how he left it.
Yep. And so the anticipation is that it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
I was right there with them. I thought they would get back to the planet and everybody would be addicted again, or some variation of that. Yeah.
So as we close the opening there, the Captain Freeman is like, "Okay, everybody, clean up the ship," and the first officers are laughing like, and she's like, "I'm serious," and they're like, "Oh my God, she's serious," and they run off.
Yeah, and what's so funny is like the doctor's like, "Oh shit, she's serious." So I mean, the setup is already there. The question is, how is it going to happen?
Mariner, what the hell are you covered in?
Blueberry filling. Yeah, well, we got the pie eating contest later today. Hey, we should get that reporter to cover it. We're gonna crush ops this year.
Oh.
What's her problem? We did strawberry last year. She doesn't always get to pick the pie.
Ensign, if I were you, I would make myself scarce for the next couple days.
So, of course, Captain Freeman is still, really nervous about this reporter coming on board, but Ransom, sees this as an advantage. If the Anarans have relapsed, then they'll render aid, and boom, success. It should be a slam dunk, right? Never.
Yeah, which is a very Starfleet type of mission anyway, right? So, there's the downside, Captain Freeman's nervous. There's the upside, Ransom thinks that this is an opportunity, and Mariner just walks by covered in blueberry sauce and spreading it all over the ship.
Yeah, they were getting ready for a pie eating contest on the ship. So it's like, Ransom, basically tells, Captain Freeman, we need to basically get rid of your daughter, make her scarce.
Yeah, and Freeman's like, absolutely, and Mariner's left these blueberry footprints all over the floor. They get into the lift, and it's just all over the walls and everything. Which, by the way, has never occurred in any other episode. It was this was definitely over the top, but I thought it illustrated Freeman's anxiety about it really well.
Oh yeah, and I would make that decision too. I mean, Mariner is always a wild card, and she has a reputation, and her track record speaks for itself. So I would, shift duties and kind of move her around so that the reporter doesn't come across her. And so that's exactly what she did. She started moving did duty shift changes.
Wow, Captain, I have to tell you, covering a California-class ship is really special for me.
Pretty great view, huh?
Oh, it's stunning.
And when it comes to the lower decks, nobody knows it better than Beta Shift. So if you want a tour or something, just let me know.
Actually, Ensign, I believe your shift doesn't begin for another 3 cycles.
Right, so we come back to Boimler, Tindy, Rutherford, and Mariner all find out that their shift schedule's been switched with the Alpha shift. Or I guess it's Mariner that's like, is there even an alpha shift? I didn't know that.
Yeah, but come on, there's always an alpha ship. If you're
Alpha
beta,
shift, of course,
or delta, there had to be an alpha in the mix. Yeah.
So just when they're kind of discussing that, Captain Freeman and the reporter walk by. I don't even know why she would bring her to that section, but there they are. And the gang's already there.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is like, everybody else seems to be okay with, the duty shift change, but Mariner's not. I mean, Mariner is constantly talking about wanting to represent. And she steps up to the reporter, still with pie filling on her face.
Right. And she's like, nobody knows the lower decks better than I do. It's beta shift. And she's like, Captain, I'm free to walk the reporter around. And Freeman's like, no, because, you've got your shift that you have to accomplish. And she's like, yeah, that's 3 shifts from now. I literally have the time to do this.
Yep. And they basically, she shuts the lights off in the lower decks quarters.
Yeah, she says, go to bed.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, maybe she doesn't do that then, but she does it eventually.
Yeah.
She says, go to bed.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And so basically, Mariner and her lower decks pals are, ready to go get ready for the pie eating contest, and it's been canceled. And so you find out that basically Freeman has just shut down all fun on the ship. Everything's about business. Right. Everything's got to be above board.
Right. And I think, I don't know who says it, maybe it's Rutherford, who's like, this is the biggest night of the year next to Pon Farr.
That was freaking funny.
Dude, that was so great.
Like,
they're so, I just love how in all the series, the Vulcan ways really have, I mean, even at one point, Mariner threw out a Vulcan salute. Like, it's so ingrained in all of Star Trek lexicon. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's a foundation, really is kind of like a foundation for a way of thinking that has definitely impacted my life, because I have always prided myself on approaching things in life from a logical standpoint. Not that knowledge is the end of wisdom, it's just the beginning.
Yeah, and by the way, for all of our listeners, Anthony used to have a show called Pure Logic.
Yes.
Which was more of a political bent, but it was very logical. And you were great in it, by the way. You should check that out on YouTube, everybody. Pure Logic.
Thank you, sir.
Turn it around, lower decks. Captain wants you in your bunks.
Well, come on, man. This is our bar. We just want to grab a drink, all right?
This isn't the bar anymore. It's the Commander's Lounge.
Hey, wait, Jet's not a commander. He's a lower decker like us. How come he gets to be in there?
So the reporter gets to it and starts interviewing several of the crew members in it was the bar, but it's been turned into an interview station for everyone.
Yeah, right. It's like a it's a junket. It's like a press junket room. Like they you and I have both done press junkets where they take a hotel room and just turn it into an interview stage, and that's what it reminded me of. And so the reporter's in there, and she's interviewing one of the other ensigns, one of the other lower deckers from like beta or not beta, gamma shift or whatever. And Mariner's just like, well, wait a second. If we can't be interviewed, why the hell is that guy in there? And I'm just starting to think like she's really pouring this on thick, and you can feel the tension rising. Like, Jesus, I almost thought to myself, God, you need to shut up. Like, you're just going to get everybody in trouble.
Exactly, because you don't know what she's going to say. I mean, like we've said a million times, she's such a wild card. You don't know what you're going to get. I don't question her loyalty, but you just don't know if her method is going to hurt everyone in the end. And so, Mariner is totally offended, and Mariner vows to tell the truth about what goes on board at the Cerritos. And you just know that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and boom, commercial break. You're like, shoot.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect it to be this nice.
Seems like the Onarans are in a good place. But stay alert. Sometimes the dark reality is hidden just beneath the glossy exterior.
So we come back, and Captain Freeman, for some reason, has taken the reporter down to Ornara. Now, if this were true military, of course, the embedded journalist may not go down unless everything was vetted first. They're just going down sight unseen. But that's just me being persnickety. But they get down there, And they beam right into the middle of this. Of course, they always beam into the center of a town square or something. And, everything looks normal, but Freeman's like, I don't like it. Keep your eyes open.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, okay, where's the twist? Where's the twist? Because I'm always looking for a twist.
Yeah.
There's got to be something wrong
always.
here. But the magistrate shows up and he's like, hey, what's going on?
He's just right there.
Yeah. Hey, what's up? And, to Freeman's surprise, everyone's good. They didn't go back to the drugs after Picard left.
Well, and I'm still dubious about that. And he goes, well, look, we came through it. Look at our mural. And they show this mural, and the first thing you see is the Enterprise leaving with hands extended. And I'm like, oh, that could be please don't leave. And then they show like just these chaotic, murderous images of just death and destruction. And he's like, then we went through a bad period of 10 or 14 years. And then the end of the mural is them just working out and looking really healthy. He's like, yeah, but then we got over it. Now we just dedicate ourselves to health. And I'm like, okay, this really did work. And someone says it like, wow, Picard really did know what he was doing, which is a wonderful nod, of course, to Admiral Picard.
Oh yeah, of course. But I'm at this point though, I'm like, this is too easy. I mean, there's got to be more to this, right? I mean, like, what's about to happen? We're about to be blindsided. I was totally expecting a blindside, but it didn't happen.
Me too.
Everything was cool. Everything
What
was
blindsided me is when the magistrate ripped off his clothes and he had his jogging uniform on. He went and ran a 10K. That's what blindsided me.
that was, I mean, I just thought it was so funny, and I was just like, wow, okay. But this is what's great about the show is that you can't predict it. You don't know what direction they're going, and that's what makes a great show.
Right, and there's even more in this episode, which we'll talk about, but I want to go back to what I said and what you agreed on, is I don't agree with the reviews that I read that season 3 has been disconnected and lackluster. I think they're tying in so many stories from the past. I think it's woven intricately. I think that the performances have never been better. I think the writing is crisp. I totally disagree with whoever these people are that just don't think it's what it's supposed to be. I think they've put a tremendous amount of thought into this, and it's a lot of fun.
I 100% agree.
There's nothing funky here, Les. Picard knew what he was doing.
Damn it! We need something, or the entire program could be in jeopardy. What about the neighbors? The Pusher Planet? Maybe they're dealing with some difficulties that we can fix.
And so, Freeman is kind of like, oh crap, we have this reporter here. We have to show them what our initiative is about. And so she calls, Buen Amigo, and he's like, basically, well, we need some good press coverage here. So why don't you go to the sister planet that used to distribute the drugs. So maybe there's a problem there. We'll go see.
Yo, news lady.
Ensign Mariner, I was just about to go interview your mother.
Yeah, well, before that, I've got some things you're going to want to hear.
On the record? Well then, come on in.
On their way, Mariner's just had enough, and she's just like, look, I'm going to talk to this reporter. So as the reporter's walking in the hall, she's just like, oh, reporter lady, come on, do you have a second? I want to talk to you. And they go into Mariner's quarters, but this is witnessed by someone.
Yes, Ransom, who was just kind of around the corner, sees this. And so that's planting a seed.
Yeah, and now I'm thinking, God, what are you doing, Mariner? Like, you've already been in trouble a ton of times. You're on the bubble anyway. You're on like double secret probation, to borrow a term from Animal House. It just doesn't feel like smart, and I'm just wondering, what the hell is she doing?
But remember, though, it was either the last episode or the episode right before. Remember, she met with Ransom, and he said, all the department heads have said that she's been a stand-up officer. She had changed her ways.
Yes, but don't you think one or two episodes of a change is not enough to engender trust? I mean, after all, when Ransom's looking at her, pull that reporter in, he's immediately suspicious. And I think he has a right to be.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, your track record is your track record. I was just stating that, she had, over the course of this season, made changes. So we'll see how this plays out.
I think you've seen that I run a tight ship, capable of far more than just second contact.
Actually, after my crew interviews, tight isn't the word I would use to describe the Cerritos.
No, what would you call us?
Chaotic, quote, irresponsible, silly is a word that has been tossed around quite a bit. Is it true that your first officer turned into a giant head that tried to eat the ship like a hamburger?
So we go to Captain Freeman's office, and the reporter shows up and is ready to do the interview with her, and she gets completely blindsided.
Yeah, yep. Well, the reporter is like, so I've heard, she doesn't say who. She says, I've heard that what you're saying is, what about this? And she starts laying out, she starts listing all of these wonderful things like, didn't your first officer become a puppet? And or your first officer turn into a giant head and try to eat the ship like a hamburger? And didn't one man be turned into a puppet? And she's just listing all these mishaps from all the previous episodes. And it was funny to get that list because it brings you back.
Yeah, and she nailed it. She was just like, Cerritos is, people are saying that Cerritos is chaotic, irresponsible, silly, and you basically don't run a tight ship. And so, at that point, I'm like, oh, crap. What the hell did Mariner say?
Right.
Because the assumption is that she would be the person to do this.
Right, because she pulled her in, and you're just like, God, what are you doing? Because, mother-daughter, there's going to be conflict. The mother's like, clean up, and don't forget, the captain canceled all the fun for the lower deckers, that one thing they look forward to every year, the pie eating contest.
Yeah, and so, Freeman's furious. I mean, she is pissed, and rightfully so, because she not only is she being blindsided with all this information, it just makes her look bad. This is her command. Yeah. This is her ship. And everyone looks like a bunch of buffoons.
What the hell did you say to her?
I know, I wasn't on the list, okay? But I had to tell her some stories, about what it's really like to work here.
So you went out of your way to make me look like a fool.
I just told her the truth.
You went too far this time, Mariner.
You told her all sorts of terrible, out of context.
I give context.
When are you gonna grow up, Beckett? You have absolutely no concept of when to shut your mouth.
So Mariner jumps onto the bridge, and everyone's just looking at her sideways. They're angry, and she's like, whoa. Wait, what did she say? The camera adds 10 frowns. Am I right? I thought that was a great line. And she goes into the ready room, and Captain's there, and Ransom's there, and basically, Captain goes right for it. You've betrayed me. You've betrayed the ship. You've backstabbed all of us. And, Mariner really defends herself. She's like, no, I just wanted to tell the truth. I just wanted to, I want to hear what you thought about this moment.
It was, what I liked about it was the fact that we had a full-on mother-daughter argument. And it plays out how it happens in real life a lot of times. Parents, parents base their judgments and past behaviors. And it wasn't that Captain Freeman was wrong about having that assumption, but she didn't allow, Mariner to state what she actually said.
Well, but the reporter told her everything, and you buy that. Like, I heard, everything was fine until she talked to Mariner, and then this report comes in, and here's what I heard. But I think you felt the same thing I did, was at this moment, because Mariner was so genuine in her defense and saying, I was just trying to, tell a good story. She wasn't saying the reporter deserves to know the truth and this ship is a mess. She was genuinely defending herself. And later she goes out into the hallway and sees her girlfriend, and her girlfriend accuses her of backstabbing. And now I'm starting to think, wait a second. And the first thought I had was in the episode previous where where William Boimler was revealed as Section 31 operative. What if William replaced the other Boimler and dropped all those hints? And I'm starting to think Mariner was backstabbed. She was the one who's the innocent victim of all of this. Someone else did the narking, and that's where I was at that point.
Wow, that was a really interesting theory. And really creative. I wouldn't have thought it that way, but the way you stated it, it actually makes sense because we did end on the last episode with, William Boimler as, Section 31. Who knows what Section 31's up to?
Exactly. But I know for sure now, I know for sure at this moment that she's innocent. Something has been done, and it's not her fault.
You want to backstab, complain, and be hard to work with? Well, there's a place for people like that. It's called Starbase 80.
Starbase 80?
I want you off of my ship before we get to Brekka so you don't cause any more damage.
Oh my God, you're not kidding, Mom. Please.
You are no longer my ensign or my problem. I don't even know if I can call you my daughter anymore. Dismissed.
She's been reassigned, period.
Yep. And reassigned to Starbase 80, which Ransom had threatened her with before.
Yes.
So we're going to find out what this is all
9.
about. Yeah, I mean, Starbase 80 must be like a real, for lack of a better word, shit show.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Whatever. It's not my first time getting kicked off a ship. The goodbyes are the worst part, so let's not say anything.
Mariner, you can't leave the Cerritos.
Yeah, I can.
So the shuttle shows up, and it's more akin to a Star Wars scene where the shuttle's all beaten up and dirty and disgusting, and these two sandwich-eating guys are there like, hey, we're here to get you. What a nice ship. It smells nice. And they're like, come on with us.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they might as well have been Packlets.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So they give her for I think what looks to me like a prison uniform, and she gets on the shuttle and they take off. It's sad.
Yeah, and I want to take one half step back. I mean, even Ransom was shocked that Captain Freeman, kicked off the ship and sent her to Starbase 80. Even he had a look on his face like, whoa. I don't know about that. So
because he's seen her, he's single-handedly seen and been responsible for her transformation, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think he's parted wisdom with her in addition to riding her back. But I think their relationship, completely changed, and so it was sad for him, to see her get, demoted basically and sent away. So yeah, she's gone, and everybody's on the bridge seeing the shuttle fly away, and
I was sad.
Yeah,
I was sad.
Yeah, and Mariner had tears in her eyes.
She did, and especially because at that point, I just knew in my gut she was innocent. Something was up. And she just willingly went. She didn't even fight it. She's like, okay, this always happens. I'm going to go. I'll see you guys again. She just seemed to be okay. That surprised me. She does have a remarkably positive attitude despite what's happening.
Yeah, I think she was just more resigned and just deflated by the whole thing. I mean, because, when you know that you do something in earnest, as she implied that she did, it's hurtful. You have the best intentions, and I think we've all been in those situations, and you're just like,
oh, of course, my God, yes.
Yeah, you're just like, well, I mean, that's not what happened, but now I'm getting beat down for it. So I think at that point, even the strongest person sometimes just, it's just like, well, screw it.
I think resigned is the exact word. I think you're right. She's just resigned.
Phaser's out. Something's not right.
Captain, I found someone.
Please, you have to go.
Whoa. I'm with Starfleet. I can help. Where is everyone?
The Cerritos arrives at Brekka, which, when they beam down, along with the reporter again, by the way, it's a ghost town. Nothing's there. Of course, Freeman orders phasers out because she's nervous about that. And they spread out. Ransom comes to a person in the alley that's hiding, and he's like, wait, what's going on? And she's like, get out of here, go. And you're like, okay, what's going on? She looks like she's drugged out, by the way, too, just FYI.
Yes, and then that person's immediately vaporized, and then all of a sudden, all these Breen soldiers just appear from everywhere, and they and start attacking. I'm just like, oh my God, what the hell's happened?
Yeah, and again, this is what I love about this show is it's not always just comedy. Like, this is real danger. and real threat. And so they emergency beam out. They all get back onto the ship. But that ship, the Cerritos, is just pummeled by these 3 green ships who are just, they take the shields out in a matter of a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking like the Cerritos is going to be down for the count. And you're like wondering, well, what's going to happen? Does Mariner come back in and somehow save the day? You know, I mean, that would be hokey, but I was still looking for it.
Too much.
Yeah.
Emergency transport now!
Shields are failing!
Brace for impact! The Green don't take prisoners! Do not try to negotiate! Defend yourselves at all costs!
Captain, incoming ship.
More Breen?
No, it's, I think it's Starfleet.
In a Deus Ex Machina moment, a ship does arrive, and, you know, it's always, sir, there's another ship coming in. It's Federation, right? That's like a standard line for Deus Ex Machina, on Star Trek, but I love it anyway. I never get enough of it. And this beautiful ship, which doesn't look too far from the Nova class ships. Anthony, I think you may know what class that is. It's a smaller class. I know that Paramount had flirted with doing Nova class for the next for the next Enterprise before they did the Sovereign class, the D.
Right.
Or the E rather. They were going to make the Nova class the E, but they made it the Sovereign class. So this looks a little like a Nova class, small, tight.
Meet the new Texas class. This is the Alito, the first of 3 fully automated Federation starships. And it looks like she just passed her sea trials.
And it comes in, and it's got some wicked firepower. It just destroys those ships like a couple of blasts.
Oh, yeah. And so we come to realize that this is an unmanned vessel. It's the USS Alito, part of the Texas class of ships.
I love it. And the interesting thing about this Texas class is that it's fully unmanned. It is, for lack of a better term, a drone ship, which, and the Captain Buenamego, who gets on the comms with them, says it's a new class of ship that we're trying out. And I'm thinking, it's the 24th century. They didn't have... I'm amazed anyone's in space.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have autonomous vehicles before this? What happened? But, you know, that to me, that was the only hole of this episode. Like, why are they just doing that now? But it doesn't matter. They've saved the Cerritos.
Yep, and so...
the reporters...
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yours.
Okay. And so the reporter is now focused on that, and to the dismay of Captain Freeman, because basically her thunder, was taken.
And we still haven't resolved the issue of Mariner, so of course we've got our last bit.
Well, there's a family you're born into, right? And then the family you choose. I've got both here on the Cerritos. If you're measuring by heart, this is the strongest ship in the fleet, because we've got the best captain at the helm. My mom.
But this sole voice of California-class exceptionalism was transferred off the ship just for talking to me. Is Freeman really the best captain, or simply a cruel taskmaster?
Cerritos is in healing mode, but it's time to broadcast this story that the reporter has put together, and it's not what we expected, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, it was a nice and pleasant surprise twist for me. All the mishaps came from the very people that were affected and were and basically kind of presented in a way where it seemed like they were bashing, but they weren't.
Well, the hand-picked people that Freeman handed to the reporter were just recounting stories that to them were stories of the Cerritos, but they were all the fuck-ups that happened, all, getting them into danger. But they're just, and you see Brack saying something, and you see, I don't remember who else was being interviewed, the doctor, and that's where the reporter got all the stories. And for you, it was a warm moment, like you just said. For me, I was pissed. Like, genuinely, like, you know what? They get to Mariner's story, and she's like, it's a family here. We're happy. And that was her whole point. That's why she wanted to be interviewed. She knew that there would be, at best, sterile stories from the other crew members. She wanted to give it heart. And the reporter's like, not only did one person tell a story of love and heart on the ship, but she was kicked off for it. Man.
Yeah, that was a blow.
Blew me away.
Yeah. I was just
and it made me mad.
Oh, yeah. I was completely, pissed, for Mariner.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, Mariner's not it's complicated, with Mariner. She paints outside the lines, but she's tethered like a tetherball to the center.
Well, you said this before in previous episodes. She's Starfleet, and she's her mother's daughter. She's not, no matter what her personality is, she's not cruel and anti-Starfleet. She's not cruel and anti-Cerritos. She's a, what's the word I'm looking for? A loose cannon, yes. But she's, she's loyal. And she was the only one who, was loyal to her mother.
Exactly. So, I mean, honesty is was the best policy, and that's what she did. Yeah. She was, really, wanted to make sure that people understood that despite all that happens on the ship, it's a family, and they all grow together. So, Captain Freeman obviously feels like crap.
Ew, Starbase 80, what do you need?
This is Captain Carol Freeman. I've made a terrible mistake. I need to speak with Ensign Beckett Mariner.
Who?
Oh, no, you don't.
Hold on.
Ah!
Would you just use a frickin' broom already?
Ah!
Sorry, we got a Pyrithian bat flying around in here. What the I said hit it with the broom!
I did that. It didn't care.
So she tries to get her back. There's a great funny scene where she contacts Starbase 80, and it's this guy, and there's just chaos going on in the background. There's some Aurelian bat or some kind of thing flying around. They're trying to hit it. And she's like, "Where's my daughter?"
Yeah, we find out that Mariner resigned. She actually turned in her comm badge, and that was it. She quit.
Which didn't surprise me in the slightest, of course. And not out of spite, but out of, I can't seem to get along on the Cerritos if my mother's going to undermine me. I've been sent to this place. Why would I stay here? I'm out.
Yep, and who would stay in after being rejected in that way, especially when you were telling the truth and you were being honest and trying to be helpful. And so
correct.
I have to give you a tip of the hat. A few episodes ago, we came across the archaeologist, and you called it, you said it, that eventually Mariner would team up with her, and that's exactly what happened.
Hey, so I just got a hot tip on some Vidalan mummies. Should be pretty ancient. Want to check them out, number one?
They're not gonna dig up themselves, right? Because that would be, very unsettling.
No. I mean, once or twice they have, but no, odds are they won't.
Then hell yeah, let's mummy it up!
So we go to this scene, and we see Mariner aboard a shuttle, and who walks in? The archaeologist.
The archaeologist, whose name I can't... did she have a name?
I can't remember. I can't remember.
Yeah,
That's one thing that I can recall. I can't recall at the moment.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be, Mariner's out of uniform, obviously, and they're off to some archaeology dig or something, and now they're not only partners, but I think they're going to be more. I think they're going to be girlfriends.
Probably so, but man, Mariner has charted a whole new course, and there's another thing you said too. You felt like that everybody was going to end up kind of going their separate ways. So
yeah, and I think I was thinking that would be near the end of the series. I just don't, pardon me, I don't see how people stay on the Cerritos on the last episode of the series ever. The series finale. I think, Tindy becomes captain and, on and on and on and on. I think it's a little early for Mariner to leave the show. She's obviously the star of the show. She's not leaving the show. So this will either get resolved or be a cliffhanger next week for the end of the season. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with season 4. I believe season 4 has been picked up. Is that right?
I'm not sure. I have not checked, but I would assume that it has. I mean, I think it's doing reasonably well, and they always, as we discussed in our last episode, they always have material because they're always Star Trek shows, and there's so much to pull from.
Yeah, and I think that one of the criticisms that I read was, well, here we are again, Mariner's being kicked off the ship or leaving the ship. Well, so did Boimler. He left. And maybe it's a familiar theme, but I thought it was a fresh way to look at it especially since she had come so far under Ransom's tutelage and was misunderstood and kicked off. So I think it is different. I think we need to give this a little bit of a break. I just, again, one of the things I love about this show, I don't know why I love this, but I just love it when someone goes, "What the fuck is going on?" and they bleep the fuck. It's always just so funny to me. I don't know why.
I love it. It just makes it, more relatable, I think, because it's real life. Because that's what would have really happened, Yeah. You would just be like, what the hell's going on? So, yeah. Man.
Well, Anthony, this is a great episode. It's teeing us up for the season finale, which will be next week. But meantime, why don't we discuss our top 2 favorite moments of the show?
I think you've seen that I run a tight ship.
Actually, after my crew interviews, tight isn't the word I would use to describe the Cerritos.
My number 2 moment was just the fact that a reporter was on board. I being a former reporter, I know what this means, and I just thought it was a good vehicle for, telling another story and bringing out some things that we didn't know about.
Card was absolutely right. It was the best thing that ever happened to us. Look, we even made a mural.
My number 2 was the mural on the first planet. Just that it starts with the Enterprise leaving, and then it just shows this scene of complete chaos and, just death and murder. It was just so funny to me the way it was drawn.
14 years of hell from this
14 years, 10 or 14 years, just and the lax attitude of that. So I love that.
Well, there were some who had nothing but praise.
Well, there's a family you're born into, right? And then the family you choose. I've got both here on the Cerritos.
So my number 1 was the plot twist. Mariner not being the whistleblower. And I just like the fact that she showed that she actually does care. I like the fact that we reinforce that Mariner, despite all of her, eccentric behavior, really does love Starfleet, and she loves the crew, and she loves her mom.
Mariner didn't say anything bad about the ship. It was everybody else.
They didn't even realize what they were doing. I knew something was off. We should have made her stay.
I agree with that. My number 1 is along that line. I think that I started to feel that twist coming when she was in the hallway defending herself to her girlfriend. I just knew it was too much of a simple thing. We don't know what she said. But my number 1 also includes the reassignment and then the recrimination of her mom, like realizing what she had done, the damage that she'd done to her own daughter, the fact she didn't trust her, she didn't trust her evolution under Ransom. All of that realization on Freeman's part, I thought was a big deal.
Yep. So, like you said before, this tees up what's going to happen in the season finale. I'm ready for it. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be epic because no season goes out on a whimper. So something's going to happen.
Yeah, I think we may see Mariner not return to the Cerritos. I think that there may be an issue where the Cerritos is called to rescue them. Maybe, I don't know. She'll be part of the episode, obviously, but I don't see her going back in kind of a happy, friendly ending. I think she stays off, and that's our cliffhanger for the season.
Yeah, I would like for it to play out that way. She should have some resentment towards her mom and to the crew of the Cerritos because everybody dissed her and assumed the worst. So I think they should carry that into next season.
Well, another great episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, Episode 9. We got 1 left for this season. In the meantime, you could check us out on social media at our website, www.Energize Podcasts, that's podcast with an S at the end, .com, for not only this season of Lower Decks, but you can also check out all the other seasons that we've covered for Strange New Worlds and other shows. We will be covering Season 3 of Picard as well.
Yes, absolutely. We're sitting here. We got to wait several more months. February 13th. Oh, my God. It's too far away.
But it'll be a wonderful Valentine's Day gift.
Destruction. Yes. Awesome. Everyone, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. I'm Anthony McLemore.
I'm Steve Truitt. Live long and prosper.